Hello, ni hao, hola, merhaba, bawao. Welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to be learning some basic English. We're going to start with this phrase, to be or not to be. That is the question. If you really think about it, to be or not to be is something that we all think about from time to time. It's not always easy to explain this word, to be, but today we're going to make it simple, and I'm going to help you to understand how to use it in the language. To begin with, it's important to know what a verb is. For those of you who don't know, and for those of you who do know, I will cover this subject briefly for those of you who don't know. If you do know, please feel free to take a break at this point and return to the video in a few minutes. So a verb, otherwise known as a doing word or an action word, verbs used to explain things that we do. Some example of verbs are run, believe, speak, take, waste, and run. These words help us to explain things that we are doing, things that we have done, or things that we are going to do. Today we're going to be exploring the verb to be. We're starting here because this is a very important doing word that a lot of people get confused with. The reason for this is that it's not so obvious as some of the more straightforward action words such as run, or breathe, or blink, or fall. The verb to be speaks more about existing, being present, and knowing where you are at a certain time. If we look at verbs, we can see that the word itself is not a verb, it is a noun. But verbs themselves are verbs. So if, for example, we want to say something like, I like to run to work. Without the verb, we would simply say, I like to work. People will be confused. They wouldn't know what you like to do to work. They didn't know if you're saying, I like to travel to work, I like to believe to work, I like to see to work. By saying, I like to run to work, we show clear meaning of the action that we're intending the listener or the reader to understand. So by saying, I like to run to work, we know that the person is moving at a high speed, moving their legs and propelling their body forwards. Verbs aren't always actions. Sometimes verbs are things that we do, but they aren't physical actions, such as, for example, believe, to believe. I believe that she is a liar. I believe she's a liar. I'm still doing something because I'm believing, but it's not like running. We don't see it. It's not so obviously in action. The same with the verb think. I think that he has stolen something from the shop. I think he has stolen something. Again, we're not saying that thinking is something that you can see. We're just saying that it's something you can do. It's an action, but it's not a physical action. So it's important that you're aware of this before we get into the verb to be, because the verb to be, again, is something that you do, but it's also something you are, and it's not something that is clearly visible to the naked eye. So how can we use the verb to be? Well, it's actually very simple. I would like to be. I would like to be near. Okay, I would like to be near. This is a very good example. In this example, we're saying that we would like to have the presence of our own self into a close proximity. A close proximity with what? Well, we haven't specified in this example, but there are different options. For example, we could say, I would like to be near you. I would like to be near you. We're saying that I would like to be in a presence which is close to you. Now, this suggests a physical proximity. However, if we use close to you, this has a double meaning. This could be physically close, or this could be close in the sense of a relationship, as in intimacy. That I would like to be more intimate with you. I would like to have a deeper relationship with you. I would like to be dead. This is a wish for somebody who would like to be non-existent, the opposite of to be. But we still use the verb to be, even though it's the opposite of to be, because to be dead is to not be. To be or not to be. So even when we're talking about situations where we don't exist, we still use the verb to be. We can use not. I would like not to be dead. Again, this means I would like to be alive. I don't want to be dead. I'm not ready to die. I don't feel the urgency to pass away, to move into a different state of being. In this case, dead. I would like not to be bored. I would like not to be bored. Maybe you've spent some time in a place where you don't feel stimulated, and you're wishing that you could be in a different state. So in this case, the verb to be, we're talking about the state of being bored. And we're wishing not to be in that state. We're wishing to be, excuse me, we're wishing to be in a state of excitement, exhilaration, stimulated, interested. We're wishing that we won't be to be bored. To be bored or to be bored. Some people want to be bored. Maybe being bored is perceived as a negative state to be in, but for some people, perhaps it can help them to find answers to certain unanswered questions. Okay, so before we get too deep into the verb to be, I think it's important to understand that the verb to be actually has some different forms. So we can say, for example, present perfect. For example, it is to be a sunny time this week. It is to be a sunny time this week. We're saying this week the environment or the ambience of the outside world is to be in the state of sunny, not dark, not gloomy, not overcast. It's going to feel quite bright. There will be people sitting outside at cafes, enjoying coffee, iced coffee, maybe a soft drink. There'll be children playing. We can hear the sounds of their laughter. But the main point is that we will be in that state. But it's present perfect, so it's a kind of general feeling. It's something that we can return to again and again. It's not something that is lost in the past. It's not something that's continuing. It's just a general present perfect feeling. Now, we can also use the past simple. In the past simple, we can explain the verb to be as a state in the past which is finished. For example, be becomes was. So instead of saying, I would like to be quicker, let's say, we could say, I was quicker. I was changing my shoes from one pair to another. And instead of saying, I would like to be quicker, we can say, I was quicker. Was is a very strong verb to be in the past. We can use it in many ways. I was asleep. I was tired. I was falling. I was shy. These are all things that we were at some point in the past, but now we're not. They have finished. They're not continuing. They're not in any way connected to now. They are just states of being at some point in the past. Could be 10 minutes ago, could be an hour ago, could be 10 years ago, could be 100 years ago. We're not saying when it was, we're just saying it's something that was a state in the past. Was has a friendly brother, sister, cousin, twin, whatever you would like to use, which is were. And all this is our plural sister, brother, cousin, niece. It doesn't matter how you define it. We can think of this as a friendly relative. Somebody who's there to help you, somebody who's there to hold your hand when times get rough, somebody who's there to stand behind your shoulder and look over at the future with you. We use these equivalences to help us guide ourselves through learning the language. It helps us to use these metaphors to keep things moving. So if we want to use that verb, we can use it in many different ways. For example, we were speaking. It's exactly the same as using was. It's a state in the past, but instead of just one person, it's 2 people, it's 3 people, it's 10 people, it's 11 people, it's 22 people, it's 100 people, it's 90 people, it's 40. It doesn't matter. It's just more than one. 1 plus. This is a good way to remember plural. 1 plus. If it's more than 1, it's plural. If it's less than 2, it's singular. We were speaking. We were in the state of speaking. We were believing. At some point in the past, an unspecified time, we were believing. We don't know what we were believing, but there was more than one person and we were in the state of believing. Perhaps somebody told something to us. Perhaps they told something to us which wasn't true. Perhaps we thought that it was true, but then realized at some point later that actually it was an untruth and we had been lied to. But we can still say that we were believing at that point in time, which is now finished. Okay, so now we've looked at the verb to be, we've looked at the verb to be, we've looked at the verb to be in the past. Now it's your turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of time so that you can think of your own sentences using either to be in the present or in the past. But before we do that, I just want to remind you that you don't need to feel any kind of nervousness. Don't hesitate to try things out and don't worry about making mistakes. It's absolutely fine. So, for example, you might say, I am to be seen today by my uncle Brian. I am to be seen today by my uncle Brian. This is a good example of a full sentence. Don't forget to add a full stop. And we have a capital letter at the beginning. Obviously, this is not in any way related to anything. I don't know anybody with this name. It's just an example, and that's all you need to do. So if I just pause for a moment and give you some time to think about that, think of some examples, and I'll come back and we can look at what you've got. Okay, so I will leave. I will be back in a couple of minutes and then we will continue. Okay, thanks. Ready. Okay. Welcome back. So we're going to have a look at some of your examples. I can help you if you've made any mistakes. Okay. So first of all, would anybody like to give me an example? Hello, everybody. I've given you a bit of time. Hopefully you were able to come up with some examples. When you're ready, if you'd like to give me some of your examples, and I will write them up here and we can have a look and see if there are any errors, anything that you need to correct. Okay, so to start with, would anybody like to share an example? Okay. I was being at home last Sunday. Okay. All right, well done. That's a very good start. I was being at home last Sunday. Now, can anybody spot the obvious error here? I was being at home last Sunday. being. Okay, we're kind of doubling up here. We've got I was, and also we have being, which is another form of the verb to be, but in its continuous or progressive form. But we don't need to double up. Here we've got I was at home and I was being at home. We don't need to have a double verb here. So I'm going to remove being and ask anybody like to think of another verb that we can use instead of being. Okay, good. Yes. Washing. I was washing at home last Sunday. I was washing. That's perfectly good. We were in the state of washing last Sunday. We can use any verb here. We can use washing. We can use thinking. We can use saying. We can use thriving. It's a bit of an advanced word there for you. Thriving. Does anybody know the meaning of the word, or the verb I should say, thriving? Yes, it's to do well, to stand high above your peers, to grow forwards, to grow faster, move upwards, and to really take control of everything that's come around you at a specific time. We can say that the rose petals were thriving. We could say that the river was thriving. We could say that my cousin was thriving last weekend. We could say anything or anybody who's doing very, very well and fighting to get out of the drudgery, to get out of the basin of life. We can bring them up. We can hold them high, standing on the shoulders of giants. We know that they've done very well. And anybody like to give me another example? Okay. She is, yeah. She is to be my chef. Okay, very good. She is to be my chef. This is a good use of the verb to be in the future. Is to be. Again, we've got is, which is suggesting of a presence, maybe some kind of circumstance which is going to evolve, develop, appear, but it's not now and it's not in the past. It's in the future. It could be 5 years from now, we don't know, but at some point in the future, she is to be my chef. She could be cooking every day. She could be making some really delicious cuisine. She could be cooking for large groups of people. We haven't specified, but we do know that she is to be. And this is the most important part here. To be. She will be in that state. Now, when we use the verb to be, sometimes we can talk about other people. I am going to be you. For example, in the meeting, I will be you and you can be somewhere else. I will take the role of you in the meeting. This is important. Obviously, it doesn't mean physically. It's just a polite way of saying that I will take on your roles and your responsibilities and I will speak for you in the meeting. This is quite good in an office setting. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the final part, which is the test. So I'm going to give you some questions and some sentences, and I want you to see if you can spot any mistakes, any errors, anything that you think isn't working quite right. The aeroplane to be landing soon. Okay, that's number one. The aeroplane to be landing soon. Number two. Why was she shouting? Why was she shouting? This is a question. Why was she shouting? Number three. Astronaut were feeling dizzy. Astronauts were feeling dizzy.